In this video, I'll be reviewing the Freewrite Traveller, a distraction-free writing advice which has personally helped me improve my words per hour rate by about 40%. So I'm going to start with an upfront conclusion first, so you don't have to watch the whole video to get my thoughts. I think that this is a fantastic device, and the fact that this has improved my words per hour rate by about 40% or so is huge. It's an absolute game changer for my productivity and general enjoyment of the craft, so I have found it super useful. I would not recommend this device to people who are maybe just starting out or who don't want to take writing that seriously because it is quite expensive and pricey. I'll get into that later in the video, but for me, I think this is totally worth it. So I'm going to be diving into a review of this device. I was very kindly sent this free review copy by Astrohaus, or the people who make this. I'm going to start with the problem that this device solves. So computers are great. You can do a lot of things on them. You can check email, you can watch YouTube videos like this one, and you can write. But the problem is, because there are so many different things you can do on it, when you're trying to focus and write, it can be very hard to avoid distraction and to avoid procrastination. Modern computers allow you to do so many different things, and the Freewrite Traveller only allows you to do one thing, write. So literally, it has the keyboard there. You can see very nice keyboard there. It has a e-ink screen, which is glare-free, which is very nice. As you write, the document is automatically backed up to the cloud, so you don't have to worry about losing anything. And at first, it's a very strange experience because you physically cannot do anything else. The only way to distract yourself is by actually getting up and sort of leaving the area, or by looking around at something else. And that was incredibly powerful for me. I feel that I was able to kind of reach a new level of focus. Yes, you can turn your computer into airplane mode and you can have the phone out of the room, but the fact is your brain is just so used to doing all these different things on a laptop or on a computer that trying to tell yourself, this is my focus zone, this is my time to write, can be kind of hard. This device, I intentionally set out to just write my current book, Kingdom of Dragons, on it and do nothing else. And it was really good because I tried this for about 22 days in a row in a particular writing stretch of this book, using the device every day, not using my laptop at all. And it was incredible because whenever I opened up, my brain was just immediately triggered to think, okay, it's time to write. It's time to step into the world of Kingdom of Dragons and continue that story. The other major problem which this device solves, which I found super useful, is giving you something to look at that is not a screen. So I'm sure this probably speaks to maybe a lot of you watching this. I love writing. It's the thing I want to do full time. I currently work a day job, which is also good fun. The problem is the day job is very screen intensive. I'm usually looking at a screen at that day job for 7 or 8 hours or whatever it is. And then I come home to write. And sometimes the last thing you want to do is look at another screen because then your brain doesn't really switch off from the work mode. The other problem that this device solves amazingly well is it doesn't feel like you are opening another computer. I'll show you that interior again. This does not feel like a laptop or a computer. It feels like its own device, its own standalone thing. And I think the best analogy for what this is and why this is really good is you can read ebooks on your iPhone, but it's so much nicer to read an ebook on a Kindle because it's a single purpose device that's built exactly for that function. And it means that you're not having to be distracted by messages or email or any of these other things. This is kind of like the Kindle, but for writing. So those are the two big problems it solves. It helps you to avoid procrastination because there's nothing else you can do on it except write. And the second problem is that it kind of reduces the amount of screen time that you have to face. You're still looking at a screen, but it feels like you're looking at paper rather than a LED screen. So in terms of the device itself, as I showed you before, it is very simple. It is just this nice e-ink screen up the top there. It has a little kind of status bar down the bottom here, which you can basically cycle through a bunch of different things by pressing the special key over here, I think it is. So if I press that, you'll be able to see it flicks up various different functions. So this is the one that I found the most useful. So this is a little timer that comes up as soon as you start pressing that special key. And the timer goes away when you press the special key again to go off to something else. So what I would do for my writing is I would kind of set up, hit that special key to get the timer started, And then I would just write and try to get as many words down as possible before I ended that session. And then I would basically switch off the timer thing, shut it, go away, do something else. And something about having that timer counting down there is really good because you can still distract yourself by like flicking through the special key functions to see all those different status things. But when you have the timer up, if you do that, it makes the timer go away. So me not wanting that timer to go away kind of allowed me to stay even more focused and even more locked in. In terms of the keys themselves, they look very similar to regular laptop keys, but they're about 2 or 3 times deeper. So you end up with a combination between the really thin keys on a laptop like this, you can see how thin that is over there, and something that's a bit thicker like this keyboard here. These keys are very deep. You can hear what that sounds like on there. These laptop keys are very shallow. You can hear what this sounds like on here. And then this Traveller is sort of like a combination of the two. I realize that's just put a bunch of words on there now. So, it actually creates a really nice writing experience. It's probably not as nice a keyboard as my proper mechanical keyboard here, but it is a lot nicer, for me at least, than the laptop keys. Plus, the main thing I found is that just the fact that you are able to be so focused on this device makes up for any shortcomings in kind of the hardware and the keys. But generally speaking, the keys were really good. Didn't have any kind of discomfort from my writing experience. Yeah, found they were really, really effective. Getting to problems with the device, probably my biggest issue is that sometimes the kind of software is a bit buggy and a bit laggy. And what I mean by that is because this thing is an e-ink screen, sometimes when you type on here, there is a bit of a delay before the words appear on the screen. So if I write something on there, let's see, I'm gonna put J, and you can see how there is a slight delay, not super noticeable, between when I press the letter and when the letter appears on the screen. Now, for some people, that's gonna be more of an issue than for others. I know I showed this to one guy, and he just looked like he was gonna vomit because he was very sensitive to that kind of connect between typing something and seeing it appear on the screen. For me, I did find it a bit difficult to get used to that at the start. But eventually what happens is you kind of just get into this point where your brain just makes up for that difference and you'll just be typing away happily there, not even really looking at the screen, just kind of like looking off into the distance, touch typing there, and it doesn't matter so much that there is that delay. So it's kind of useful in that regard, actually, because it forces you to not just like be staring at the screen the whole time. And quite often, I would just sort of be typing down here and then looking at something else in the distance, which is a much nicer way to kind of do your writing. Especially, there are a couple of times where I would like go down to the river, just sit on a bench there and basically like be typing away, looking out at the water, and it was a really nice way of writing. Sometimes though, there are very big delays in when things appear. There were a few times where I literally typed out like 2 or 3 sentences and they didn't appear on the screen and I had to hit enter or the space bar or something like that before they came up. I did also, on the note of software issues, it did take me a little while to connect it to my home internet when I was starting, but their support team was amazing. I basically emailed through and they said, just reboot the device, which you do by holding down this little power button here for about 12 seconds or so. And it totally fixed the issue right up. So in terms of the software, I hope that's something that does improve in the future. And it does kind of reassure me in a sense. I'm very happy with the hardware of this device. So, you know, all the physical keys and screens and everything that's in it. Software stuff is something that can be updated. And I think I actually got a software update for this a few days after Freewrite sent it out to me. But even with those issues, this device was still totally worth it. I've got quite a good computer set up over here, just out of camera. A $300 keyboard over there, you know, nice screen, like 2 screens, really big screen. And even though I had all of that sort of high-tech stuff over there, I found it so much more compelling to like put this little device in my backpack, cycle down to the river, like sit on a bench and do some writing there. And I think that's because the qualities this offers you in terms of just removing all those distractions and everything, it just makes it such a more pleasurable writing experience than writing on a computer. And maybe this is a little bit pretentious to say, but it kind of makes you feel like you're, you know, this real artistic writer who has made this real commitment to it because you've got this device which signifies the fact that you are kind of taking this seriously. And it was really nice to have it, and it's really nice to look at as well. Like, even when I'm not writing first drafts on this and I may be doing more editing stuff, it's nice to have it up on the shelf to kind of just remind myself, oh yeah, like I've got that device there. It's a signal of my sort of commitment to this pursuit in a sense. The other thing that's awesome about this is the portability. As you've kind of seen with me just sort of flinging this thing around, it's really small, it's really light and compact. And it's the kind of thing where in the future I can very much see myself going off camping, taking it down with me, leaving the laptop, leaving everything else here, and just kind of doing some writing down there. And that ability to kind of just like pack it up and go is great, especially because it has about 30 hours of battery life. So I think on Freewrite's website, they say that it has enough battery life for like a month of use, but only if you use it for a certain period each day or whatever. In my experience, I was probably charging this thing every 3 weeks or so, but I was kind of lazy, so a few times I didn't charge it to the full capacity, and that meant I had to charge it more. But generally speaking, the battery life is amazing for this thing. Because this thing is an e-ink screen, it uses less energy, and it means that you can see it even in totally full sunlight. It doesn't have a backlight, which is one feature that could maybe be useful, but I understand the desire to kind of keep it minimal and keep it efficient, and for my purposes, I think it's totally fine. So at the top of the video, I mentioned that the device helped me be 40% more productive when it comes to the amount of words I can write each hour. Let me show you exactly how I calculated those results. So every good experiment needs a control period, and for me that was these 22 days here when I was writing on a computer. This was working on my novel Kingdom of Dragons. In that time I wrote 23,419 words for a total of 36 hours, which brings us to a words per hour rate of 646. In the Freewrite period, I wrote 22,927 words over the 22 days. So slightly less than writing on a computer, but I actually did that in far less time. So instead of 36 hours, I only took about 25 hours to produce those words. As a result, my words per hour was 904, which is a 40% faster writing speed. So the last part of this is the price, and the Freewrite Traveller goes for about $499 US, which is pricey, especially when you consider that this is basically just a keyboard and an e-ink screen and not really anything else. There are laptops that you can get out there that are probably the same price as this, and that you could conceivably like change the software to make them work in a similar way to this. I would say though that for me, that price is worth it. Obviously this is a free review copy, so I didn't have to pay for it. Freewrite sent it out to me very kindly, but I do think in hindsight, if this device was taken from me, I would be pretty happy to splurge out that amount. The fact that it is able to help me write 40% faster is huge. Like that is a total game changer for me as a writer. And now that I am, kind of a few years into this writing career or whatever, and know the value of getting books out there quicker, 40% faster is huge, because that could mean the difference between like an extra book written each year or not. That is huge and totally worthwhile for me. And I think even if it was only a 10% improvement to my productivity, it would be worth it for that. And then there's that whole intangible thing I was talking about before, in the sense of it just makes writing so much more of a pleasurable experience. Like it kind of makes you feel a bit special when you're doing it. It allows you to really have this kind of designated space so that you can have this full immersion in whatever world or characters that you're writing about. So absolutely, I do think it is pricey. I do think if you have been writing for a couple of years and you are willing, or you can see the value of 40% more words per hour to your situation, then I think it is worthwhile. So if you're thinking of getting it and you also want to help support this channel, I have a special link down below which gives you the cheapest possible price that this device is at. They don't do sales or affiliate codes or anything like that. So basically this link just lets them know how many people are coming through from this review. So if you found this review useful, I'd really appreciate if you use that. And yeah, if you are someone who is thinking about getting this device, or you are someone who has this device, feel free to put a comment down below talking about your experience or asking me any other questions that I didn't answer in this, and I will be more than happy to kind of go through those and answer. I've really found this to be a super useful device. I think this is going to become a staple of my writing routine moving forward, particularly for first drafts. It's not good for editing. This is purely just for getting those initial words down. Editing it is very tricky, but that's fine because it's just about shoveling sand in the sandbox when you are writing that first draft, and then you take it over onto your computer to kind of refine and build that sand into your sandcastle in later stages. So if you are wanting to kind of take your writing a bit more seriously and up your productivity, I would highly recommend the Freewrite Traveller. Use the link below to find out more about it. All the specs and everything are on the website, which is down in that link. If you're new to the channel, my name is Herne. I am a fantasy author. You can see a couple of my books behind me here. I also wrote a game and I run a writing advice podcast that goes out every Monday on this channel. You might like this episode up here. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.